जिसके पास डेजिग्नेशन है उसके पास इंटेंशन नहीं, और जिसके पास सजेशन है उसके पास पोजीशन नहीं। ऐसे में जनता क्या करेगी? इसी को डेमोक्रेसी बोलते हैं बच्चे।
किसके माँ की?
Hello and welcome to Star Trek. I'm Rohit Kilnani. It's a big show because we have the big B with us, Mr. Amitabh Bachchan. Pleasure to meet you again, sir.
Thank you, Rohit. Thank you very much for having me.
Sir, before I come to your next film, I wanted to ask you, what's your personal take on so many remakes and sequels? How do you see this trend?
I think this is a personal decision that most directors and makers make. I don't see any harm in it.
Right.
I think sometimes people are curious to know what happened after the last one ended.
Right.
And if the last one has been somewhat successful, then you're already riding a successful horse, and you want to take it further. But yes, as I said, this is something that is personal. Remakes, the people who have the rights for that film and want to remake it, that's their prerogative. And there are many examples in the past also, and throughout the history of cinema, virtually, where remakes are done. Somebody likes a subject, a generation moves on, they've forgotten the previous one, or the makers of the present time want to add conceptually what they feel needs to be added to that product, technologically as well as in content, and they go ahead and do it. Devdas is a wonderful example.
Right.
And it's an eternal story, and it's been done up almost 4 times in Hindi.
Right.
A couple of times in Bengali. I don't know that even in the south, in Telugu, in Tamil, I'm sure that Devdas has been made. Some of the more prominent examples.
Right. So generations change, but the interesting part is that most of the remakes and sequels are your films. Be it Sholay, be it Dawn, be it Agnipath. You have done one yourself. Shah Rukh has done Dawn, Hrithik has done Agnipath. How do you see it as, these were actually your cult films?
Yeah, well, my association with the film ends after I've worked in it.
Right.
And because of passage of time and because of age, I possibly can't be doing the remake of the same film again.
Yeah.
So obviously somebody younger, somebody more competent for the time is chosen. And that is something which again is a decision that for me personally, yes, sometimes you feel a little awkward that a remake of the entire film is being done. And ideally I would like the film to be in its original state, but there are some stories, there are some films that need to be remade just to remind the audiences of what the past was, and so they go ahead and do it.
Right. So critics would say that industry has run out of ideas. It's a business decision to make these, right?
Yeah, I think not entirely a business decision, but also one that provokes somebody to put in more creativity.
Right.
And that certainly is a plus point. The people of K.L. Sehgal's generation felt that that was the ultimate Devdas, with K.L. Sehgal playing Devdas. The generation of Dilip Saab will always feel that Dilip Saab was the ultimate Devdas, and Shah Rukh's generation will feel that he did justice to the role. So I think that opinions will change, and ideas and concepts will change as time passes by.
Right. So when I asked Javed Akhtar about original films, because things are original only till you don't know what the past was, he said maybe Sholay was inspired from 10 other films. So do you agree with that?
It's quite possible, yes. There are elements of the Magnificent Seven in it.
Right.
And Magnificent Seven itself was inspired by Seven Samurai, which was a Japanese film. So I think these inspirations come in, and ideas keep evolving. I think it would be a little harsh to say that the present generation doesn't have new ideas.
Right.
If you watch some of the recent films, and they're all very original scripts, and they're doing so wonderfully well.
Right. So how does Bhootnath move ahead in this new film?
Bhootnath from the original goes back to Bhoot World, which is a fantasized world of where Bhoots actually go. And when he's there in the Bhoot world, he encounters several other ghosts who, whenever he walks the street of it's a what should I say, a region by itself.
Okay.
And when he's walking on the streets or when he's walking past some areas, all the other booths who are there, who are just, like normal people, they always snigger and laugh at him, and he's very irritated by that, and he wants to know why that is happening. And then one of them tells him, ये आपने तो भूतों की नाक कटवा दी, एक बच्चे को भी आप डरा नहीं पाए. Or so he goes back to the main office, and he goes to the manager and he says, he's the CEO of the booth and says, this is getting very embarrassing. Can you do something about it? He says, that was your fault. You should have done this. He says, now how do I repair it? He says, you can go down and when your turn comes, and then you can do this, and everything will be. So he has a token number, much like when you go to a bank. You wait for your turn. And his token number is really, really, in crores. So he has to wait for a very long time for his reincarnation. So he said, this is so long, I'll have to bear this embarrassment till this time comes. So he said, okay, we'll do one thing, we'll send you back. But not as a human being, as a ghost.
Okay.
And you go down there and scare 10 or 12 children, and you can make amends and come back. So he comes back, and he makes various attempts to, scare children. But nobody believes him, nobody can see him. They all think it's a joke, and they're all still laughing at him and so on and so forth. He's very frustrated. Until one day, when he's trying to scare a few kids, one kid notices him. And he's Parth, the actor, the little kid. And he's one chap that can see him.
That's when you say, "Tum mujhe dekh sakte ho."
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So he's very shocked and surprised. He says, what, you can see me?
Yeah.
He says, yeah. So he just, gets very frustrated. He tells the CEO upstairs, hey, God, not another one. And the two build up a relationship.
Right.
And what happens to him, he's from Dharavi, the little kid. He lives in very poor circumstances and is very oppressed, and also has to face a lot of the problems that the system is imposing upon him. And they continue to be very good friends. And how the two of them get enveloped in the circumstances of the country, in the nation, the system, and how in a very satirical way they move forward. So one of the issues there is, of course, that of fighting an election, and what happens thereafter is there for you to see.
अभी तक कोई अच्छा कैंडिडेट उसके सामने क्यों नहीं खड़ा हुआ?
हुए थे ना, कुछ ठुक गए, कुछ बिक गए.
Mr. Bachchan, when you're on the sets of a film like that, when you have a child actor, when you have a director and Nitesh, do you get this feeling that they are in awe of directing Amitabh Bachchan and working with Amitabh Bachchan?
No, this is a media conception. Nobody is in awe of anything, and why should they be? I mean, I'm just another professional working on another job. It's great fun to be in the midst of this generation, in the midst of fresh talent, and even though there's a huge age gap, because I'm 72 now, and the average age on set is about 25, 26, so there's always that. But I think that doesn't bother me. It certainly doesn't bother them, because I haven't seen any indication from them as to whether they are being awe is the wrong word. I don't believe that I create that kind of atmosphere at all. Or even a fan. No, we're just doing our job. We've been given a task to do. This is your role. This is how it's to be done. And we just go ahead and do it.
You also did an interesting number with Yo Honey Singh.
Yes.
How was that? Did you know about his popularity before you?
I came to know about his popularity from my grandchildren. And then when I heard the music, I liked it.
Right.
And then when Bhushanji said that, we need to put in a song, so I said, fine.
Right.
Then they recorded the song, and then they said, you're going to be a part of it, and that was frightening. But somehow it just went off quite well. And he's a very talented singer, and he writes his own songs, he composes his own songs, and he puts music to it, and he even gives ideas of how the promos should be made or how the video should be made. Very talented young man.
Right. It's a weird question, but did you believe in ghosts ever, sir, as a child?
No, you were told stories, sometimes when there are occasions like, say, on New Year's Eve or something like that. People at home and your parents and all used to say, New Year's Eve, you're supposed to tell a ghost story and stuff like that. But apart from that, no.
Okay. Mr. Bachchan, with your efforts and many other people, India is now a polio-free country.
Yeah.
The world is 80% polio-free. How tough was this thing?
United Nations appointed me as their ambassador
Right.
in India for the polio eradication campaign, and we worked quite severely and over a period of 7-8 years.
Right.
And campaign after campaign was first, as is normally the case, faced with some resistance at some point of time. The main idea was how to enter into the rural market and be able to, because they have very conservative ideas and thoughts about medication and childcare. But that is the region where this was most required. So over a period of 7-8 years, and very strong, determined campaigning of this polio eradication theme, we kept pushing. But really the credit should go to the millions and millions of workers who actually went out into the field, to state governments, to the governments in each state who cooperated extensively through funding, through their own machinery, to own government machinery, to make sure that not only did our campaign go through, but their own efforts in wanting to eradicate polio from our country would go through. You have to be declared a polio-free nation if you don't have any cases of polio for 3 years.
Right.
And after having achieved that, well, it's really lovely fruits to bear after such a long effort.
Mr. Bachchan, in this campaign, what would be your role to create awareness? Even I saw Bill Gates tweeting you and appreciating your work.
Yes, well, Bill Gates has a foundation that works in many directions. There are many issues that that foundation addresses. One of them is health, and so I was quite surprised that he would send this message across. But when the campaign was reaching its peak almost, and we started seeing the effect of it, United Nations in New York called me, and I met some of the elders there, and they were very, very thrilled and happy, and kind of complimented me and the entire team for having done this work. So we knew that we were going somewhere. Bill Gates Foundation, I think, works on this, and I think when he was in India, his wife and other members of his group, they actually visited my set, and we talked about it and how it was going and so on and so forth. It was really very, very humbled to be receiving that message.
Right. Mr. Bachchan, another interesting campaign that you did was for Gujarat. Was that just as an actor? That's again something that you believe in, that
I actually was seeking tax exemption for a film of mine called Pa. And I'd applied in various states, in Delhi, in Calcutta, in Gujarat. And one of the things that you have to do when you apply is that you have to make a personal representation, and then the bureaucracy and the government actually sits and watches the film, and then they decide. So I took this film to Gujarat, and I went along, and I met the bureaucrats, and when Mr. Narendra Modi, who was Chief Minister, came to know of this, he wanted to see the film also. So we all went together and we saw this film, and he was very kind, and the government of Gujarat was very kind to give it tax exemption. During that period when I was there, we were just chatting one evening after the show, and he said, why doesn't the film industry come to Gujarat and shoot here? There are many locations here which are worthy of being used for locations. And I said, yes, I'm sure many people do come here. And then he gave me an information which I was not aware of. He said, are you aware that the largest number of archaeological sites in the entire country are in Gujarat? And I said, I never knew this. So he said, something should be done about it. And I said, well, if you ever want to use my services to be able to do that, I'll be more than willing to do so. And so he devised this entire tourism campaign, and within a week's time, People from the tourism department were over here. We set up an agency, we designed the whole concept, and we went and shot there.
We are in Parton.
It has proved to be quite successful, apparently. It's won several awards, and also the tourism in the state has gone up. There are many places that were absolutely strikingly beautiful. I never knew about them. And neither did many other people in the country itself. We're not talking about overseas. But it was promoted extremely well. You get off at Paris de Gaulle Airport and you find Gujarat Tourism campaign running, in the airport. You feel suddenly very proud of the fact that you're an Indian, and so that's how strongly it was pushed, and it has given good results.
So was Gujarat the only state that gave you tax-free exemption, or other states?
There were other states as well.
Okay, there were other
I think we got it from Delhi as well.
Mr. Bachchan, I always wanted to ask you this question. One thing about you that everyone in the media would agree is that you are always on time and you're punctual, and you're known for that.
I would stand a few minutes late.
That's I would stick my neck out and say that the generation after you, and even your generation, is never on time. What my question is, when you're shooting with them on the sets, are they on time or you keep waiting for them?
I just feel that if I can consider myself to be a professional, then one of the ethics of professionalism is to follow the routine that has been set for the work that you're assigned.
Right.
And if the routine says that we need you to be there at 9 o'clock or 7 o'clock or 10 o'clock, then I think that's the least that we can do. We may not be accomplished in the job, right. That is for the director to decide, but at least certain ethics of professionalism demand that at least you honor the timing. And that goes with any other occasion as well. If I have to do an interview, I make sure. I knew that I was going to be 10 minutes late, so I called my office and asked the message that I'm running a little late. These things happen. Sometimes you get stuck in traffic. Despite the fact that you set off hours before to reach a location, but sometimes you have these. But yes, by and large, it's good to be on time.
It's good to be on time. Mr. Bachchan, you recently met your friend Rajinikanth, who you've done some interesting work with, like Hum, Giraftar. After you worked in all these films with him,
Anda Kanoon,
were you all in touch through this phase?
Yes, of course. We've always been good friends, and not just during the time when we were working together, but even after.
Right.
And it goes back years and years and years ago, much before we actually started working with each other. Because he used to do the remakes in Tamil of my films,
right.
And I used to do remakes of his films, and it was just such a humble, lovely person to be with, and we always maintained a relationship outside, working sets and so on. He would visit our place, and I would visit his home, and we would sit and talk. Not necessarily about cinema, about everything, about life and this thing. Then he got married. I saw his children grow up, and how wonderful it was to see his daughter make this film for him and as a tribute. But really, what was really most impressive was that it was a woman that made this film. And what a wonderful example she has set for women empowerment in this country, which is now absolutely threatened by these odd incidents that keep happening. And to prove really that women are equally good and qualified and have the integrity and have the quality to be taking on any task. If you go to our sets today, you go to the TV studios, it's a majority of women that are running those shows, and it's so impressive.
Again, I would say the common thing between the two of you is both of you are very humble and on time. So before I go, my last question is, if you're watching any of TV channels nowadays, the country is like in the complete election fever. What do you make out of it?
I would advise you sincerely to go and see Bhutnath Returns, because it does address some of the issues that the country is facing, and it does so in a very interesting manner. I've never liked to talk about my film or its qualities, or whether they are good or bad, or I would rather wait for the audience to make up their minds. But I just feel I feel just very emotional about the content of this film, and I feel that as a nation, Nitesh has done an extremely credible job in bringing out points and putting them across to the people in a manner that will sound attractive and not necessarily very political or, very moralistic or, but it's just beautifully put. I really would want to say more, but then, I would deprive you from some of the qualities of the film. So do go and see the film.
Great, looking forward to
many
it.
answers and to the questions that you asked, you will get there.
Sure, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Looking forward to it, and thank you for entertaining us and always being on time, Mr. Bachchan.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
जिसके पास डेजिग्नेशन है उसके पास इंटेंशन नहीं, और जिसके पास सजेशन है उसके पास पोजीशन नहीं। ऐसे में जनता क्या करे? इसी को डेमोक्रेसी बोलते हैं बच्चे।
किसके माँ की?
तो बनती है